Okay, so we've talked about these patch notes. We've talked about what they mean. What the developers were thinking, maybe when they made these changes. So now, what does this mean for us as players? Well, again, I'll just start at the top with the mana bricks. Basically, destroy a mana brick when you see it, and this has been the way the game has always been. If you see a mana brick, destroy it as quickly as you possibly can. And I'm not sure that's really changed at all with this balance change. You just keep doing it. Maybe just make really extra sure that you do. And if you're ahead, you got to make sure you destroy mana bricks. If you're behind, you got to try and protect your mana bricks as much as possible. There are ways that you can protect a mana brick from instant death, and that is by baiting out your opponent's spells. So if you can get them to play the spell on you somewhere else besides that brick, that mana brick, then you can save your mana brick for a little bit longer. And I think you're probably trying to get your mana brick to survive for one or two times that it generates mana, and that way you can get one or two extra units out, and maybe that'll be enough to kind of right the ship again. I don't know. You'll have to experiment with it and give it a try. The bow bones. I still think the bow bones is completely usable as a unit. You just have to take into account now that it costs 4 mana. That's all. It's still a very good unit. The fact that it moves 3, the fact that it's got 6 range, it does an incredible amount of damage. None of that has changed. So now you're just thinking to yourself, okay, this costs 4 mana. How do I make sure that I balance my deck so the 4 mana cost is absorbed somewhere else in the deck? You got to reduce the cost somewhere else to account for the fact that their bow bones cost has gone up. Also, I think this makes it maybe less of a must-have in your deck. I think previous to this, you had to have the bow bones in every deck. I don't think that's the case now because it costs 4 mana. So now it's more of a strategic choice. Do you want to use it in this deck or not? I think it's optional now. It's good if you have it. It's as long as you balance out your mana cost. It's not a bad thing if you don't, as long as you give yourself enough range support in your deck. That's one of the important aspects of making a balanced deck. Is making sure you have ranged units. So you definitely have to play with the Witch Doctor or something in order to make sure you have a ranged unit. The Cold Snap. Um, I don't know what to say about the Cold Snap really. I can think of two uses for the Cold Snap currently. Uh, with the heavy nerf that it received here. One is stopping the Devil No Cast, um, and basically it just stops the Devil No Cast area just long enough that you can play a unit. So the no cast area does not last for very long anymore. The cold snap still freezes the devil. If you play the cold snap right, you basically you play the cold snap outside of the no cast area, but it will extend into the no cast area and freeze your opponent's devil. So that still works. So it still might be useful for that if your opponent is using a lot of devil no cast area combos. And the fact that now the cold snap costs 1 mana, well, the no cast area costs 1 mana, so the two kind of cancel each other out. So basically, your choices are either you play with the devil no cast area or you play with the cold snap. Or you could just learn to have a faster reaction time and not play with the cold snap. Or it could be that not a lot of people are playing with the devil no cast area, so then it doesn't matter. The other use for the cold snap that I've thought of is it strips the shield off of shielded characters, shielded units. And it's always been useful for that since the shield brick came out. I know originally when the shield brick came out, everyone was using From the Grave and shield brick as a combo. And one of the easiest ways of stopping that was you just throw out your cold snap, and it strips the shielding off of all those skeletons. So it's still useful for that. And for 1 mana, maybe that's not a bad deal to strip the shield off. I don't know. So basically, you kind of have to watch what the other players are playing. If everyone's playing Devil No Cast Area, if everyone's playing with a shield brick, maybe a cold snap is still worth it for 1 mana. It's really not that expensive, so who knows. The miner, I'm not convinced that this special ability is worth 2 mana, especially with the miner's wimpy stats. I think the miner needs a bump in stats to make it worth the 2 mana. Personally, um, maybe I'll be proved wrong. You'll have to see. The miner in the past, it was useful for clearing bricks because since it was so wimpy, your opponent might delay in trying to kill it because it wasn't really a danger. They could get around to killing it when they felt like it. So then that maybe made your miner live a little longer and clear away a few more extra bricks. But now that it costs 2 mana, that's quite a lot of mana to lay out for a throwaway card, a throwaway unit like that. So I'm not sure if I'll play with it at all until unless there's some other changes. The mana cost increase for the fireball. I think the fireball might still be a valuable addition to your deck just for the purpose of destroying the mana brick and for nothing else. Now, one of the things I was loving about the fireball at 0 mana was that it could destroy a 1 mana unit, and it could also destroy a couple of other things, like I think it could destroy a Bomber Skull and a Mr. Goo, and it could take the shield off of a shielded character, a shielded unit. There's just a lot of it. Also, it combos well with some other things for that little extra damage, like a boulder plus a fireball, a spiked roller plus a fireball, and that worked well at 0 mana. A lot of those extra uses do not work well now with the cost of 2 mana. It still is useful for destroying a Mr. Goo, but you really don't want to be spending 2 mana to destroy a robot. That is a mana loss for you. So it's not quite as versatile as it used to be. Again, like I said in the last video, this is basically the new Roll Laser. So you might just put it in your deck just for destroying mana bricks. You hold it in your hand, and it just stays there until your opponent plays a mana brick, and then you throw out your fireball. And then when it comes back up again, you just hold it there, and then you throw out the fireball. Or you're going to use it as a combo to destroy bricks with a devil or something like that. You're basically going to hold on to it until you find a really good use for it because it costs 2 mana. So those are my thoughts on the fireball. I don't think it's completely dead. It's just not as versatile as it used to be, and you might want to include it in your deck just for the purpose of destroying mana bricks. The Zappy Brick. One of the things I look for in when I'm looking at damage done by units or spells or magic bricks is I look at cutoffs. And what I mean by that is there's certain breakpoints where of damage. So if it does X amount of damage, it will destroy these units. If it does X amount of damage more, it'll destroy these other units as well. And it'll just keep going like that. So the boulder, for instance, is it maxes out at 963, I think, and that amount is very precisely tuned to the hit points of a lot of other units. So a 963 to me is one of those cutoff points. The Zappy Brick does not now do 963 damage. It still only does 949. And what this means is that it cannot destroy it could destroy, let's see, it could destroy a duck, it could destroy a pirate. It cannot destroy a bazooka troopa. That is what it is. So it could destroy all the 3 mana units, I think, except for the koala, but it cannot destroy a bazooka troopa or a koala. So, maybe that is useful there. you know, so being 949, it'll be able to destroy quite a bit. Um, and it takes a good chunk out of, say, a dragon. So a dragon has 1815 hit points. So this does over half the damage to a dragon. So that is pretty powerful. It's pretty potent. So that's something to weigh. A Zappy Brick, in my opinion, is all about timing and placement. You generally have to put it a little ways back on your side, and it works almost better if you see what's coming and then you place the Zappy Brick in front of it, because you want to have it chained to a couple of different units in order to get the most out of it. Hitting one unit is not the most effective use of it. The shield brick. I'm not entirely sure that this changes a lot of how you might play the shield brick. It definitely means that you have to be a little quicker to use your shield, but at the higher levels, I feel like people are really quick to destroy a shield brick if it's key to your opponent's strategy. So if I see that you've got a lot of fast running units and you're trying to shield them in order to get them down to my wall, then that means every time I see a shield brick, I'm going to destroy it right away. And I do think the shield brick is a pretty powerful brick. It's one of the best bricks you can possibly use. And so, I mean, it definitely, shortening its lifespan is probably a good idea. I'm just not sure how much impact it's going to have on actual gameplay at higher levels. So, I mean, I would recommend destroying shield bricks when you see them. So that has not changed, even though it's lasting, 14 seconds less than it did before. I would still say destroy it, and try and destroy it as quickly as you possibly can, because if your opponent is at all skilled, they're going to be trying to get units shielded quickly, so that they get the most out of that shield before the time runs out. I don't know. That's about all I have to say about the shield brick. So overall, what does this say about the state of the meta right now? I would say with the cold snap being nerfed, I would highly recommend putting a tank in your deck if you haven't already. Right now, the mummy is the best tank probably. Although with the cold snap being nerfed, I think the dragon now is probably a little better than it was before. Before the cold snap got nerfed, you could basically just freeze the dragon and then kill it with anything else. Any other unit basically could kill the dragon as long as it was frozen. So that is something to think about, and that's something to think about with some of these changes, like this change to the cold snap. That what other strategies, what other cards are now more powerful because the cold snap has been nerfed. Maybe From the Grave is more powerful now because people can't freeze all the skeletons. So maybe swarm strategies are now a little more powerful. Maybe the Devil No Cast area is more powerful because less people are going to have cold snap in their decks, and so then you might have more success with the devil. I don't know. Those are some of the things you have to think about. Is I think the shield actually goes up in priority. The shield brick, even though it's been nerfed, because the fireball has been increased in cost, and because cold snap has been nerfed, then there go two of the easiest ways to get rid of the shield. People are less likely to use them to strip your shield. So maybe the shield brick is actually better now. So those are some things to think about. It's not just what does it mean for playing that unit, but what other strategies are stronger because something has been nerfed. Anyway, there's some ramblings that I have about the balances, the balance changes that have been made. Tell me what you think in the comments or on Discord.